The crowd's roar still rang in my head when I stepped into the locker room. The air was thick with the scent of turf, sweat, and something like victory mixed with regret. Helmets clattered onto benches, laughter echoed, and then slowly died down until it was only the hum of fluorescent lights. The silence after a game always feels heavier when you've been staring at your rival across the field. Zander sat 2 lockers away, shoulders tense beneath his jersey. 24, team captain, golden boy of the league. I was 22, still chasing the shadow he cast. He peeled off his gloves, jaw tight, eyes fixed on nothing. I told myself to focus on my own routine, cleats, pads, water, but my gaze kept dragging back to him like a magnet I couldn't turn off. Sometimes rivalry feels less like competition and more like gravity. We hadn't spoken since the final whistle. Our last play had ended in a mess of adrenaline. Me tackling him, both of us crashing down, his hand gripping my arm to steady us. The replay looped in my head. The way he looked at me before standing up, unreadable. On the field, we knew exactly who we were. Off it, everything blurred. One by one, teammates filtered out. Showers hissed, doors slammed, voices faded. I sat alone on the bench, towel draped over my shoulders, heart still running its own race. When I finally looked up, the room was almost empty. Almost. Zander was still there, tying his shoes with slow precision, like he had all the time in the world. Sometimes the loudest sound is the moment you realize you're not alone. He glanced up. Our eyes met. No noise, no audience, no scoreboard between us. Just breath and the hum of the vents. "Good game," he said quietly, voice lower than I expected. I nodded. Words stuck somewhere between my throat and my chest. The space between us felt smaller than it really was. The distance from rivalry to respect can be measured in inches. I tried to look away, but he smiled, the tired kind that only shows up when the armor drops. "You played different," he added, reaching for his duffel. Smart, not just fast. Compliments from him were rare currency. I muttered thanks, but my pulse betrayed me. The locker room light flickered once, brief, soft, and in that flicker, something changed. Sometimes all it takes is a single, honest word to rearrange everything you thought you knew. He stood, shouldering his bag, about to leave. Then he paused, looked back. "You're good competition," he said. For a heartbeat, I thought that was it. But he hesitated at the doorway, studying me like he wanted to add something and didn't know how. The hum of silence filled the space between us again, heavier, thicker, waiting. Some silences don't end. They evolve. He finally nodded once, slow. "See you next week," he said, and his voice carried something unspoken. Challenge, maybe, or something else I wasn't ready to name. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving the air humming, alive. I exhaled, alone again, but not the same. When the locker room goes silent, the heart says what the mouth can't. The week passed in a blur of drills, film reviews, and restless thoughts I couldn't switch off. Every time our coach said Zander's name, something in me sparked. Not irritation anymore, but something harder to define. I told myself it was focus. I told myself a lot of things. Rivalries don't always fade. Sometimes they change shape. Game day came again, a sea of noise and light. Zander led the team out, head high, shoulders steady. I watched from the lineup. Same jersey, same colors now. Teammates, not opponents. The shift felt strange, like stepping out an argument that never really ended. It's easier to face an enemy than to stand beside him. We played like clockwork, instinct filling the gaps where words never could. Every pass, every block, every shared glance was a conversation in motion. The crowd roared, but I only heard the rhythm between us. Somewhere during the second quarter, I stopped thinking about rivalry at all. Sometimes teamwork feels too close to trust, and trust too close to something else. By the end, we'd won. Locker room noise flooded back. Music, laughter, champagne fizz. Everyone celebrated loud, wild, alive. And yet, beneath the shouting, my thoughts drifted back to that first quiet room, the one where Zander and I stood in silence that said too much. Victory feels loud until you start missing the quiet. Later, when most of the team had gone, I found myself back by my locker again, Same hum of lights. Same damp smell of turf. Zander was there like a replay of last week, but this time he wasn't tying his shoes. He was waiting. You played well, he said simply. His voice held no rivalry, just calm. Some words sound ordinary until you realize who's saying them. Guess we make a good team. I answered, trying to sound casual. He smiled, that same tired smile, but lighter this time. The kind that felt like truce. We didn't move closer, didn't need to. The space between us carried its own language. The sound of the showers faded. For a second, there was that silence again, the one that never really left. Silence isn't empty. Sometimes it's a bridge. Zander picked up his bag, paused. You ever notice, he said, glancing my way, that quiet after a win feels different than the quiet after a loss? I nodded slowly. Yeah, maybe because you stopped trying to prove something. He looked at me a long moment. Steady, thoughtful. Maybe, he said softly. Because you already did. When rivalry ends, what's left might be the truth. He turned to leave, hand on the doorframe, then looked back once more. See you next game? Yeah, I said, but what I meant was something else. He smiled, small, knowing, almost imperceptible, and then the door clicked shut behind him. The locker room was silent again, but it didn't feel empty. Not anymore. Sometimes a story doesn't end with words, just with understanding.